#Live, presented by Van Horn Law Group and Casabella Design Group. Seth Levit, joined by the man with the best hands in the live podcast business, the Emmy Award-winning, toughest live podcaster to ever play with Dan Marino. He is OJ McDuffie. Juice, it's a new year, but there's a whole lot that seems familiar.
Oh, man, yeah. We got a lot to talk about, Big Seth. Before we go anywhere, man, let me tell you about this Emmy. Somebody was trying to talk shit on social media about this Emmy. I will take this Emmy and shove it, this way. I'll do this way.
Damn. Don't believe it's real at that point, huh?
You know what I mean?
Some people in South Florida might enjoy that juice. Watch out, bro.
Hey, Big Chad. Big Chad, man.
All right. Well,
I love it.
On that note.
Go over the introductions, Big Seth, man.
We might as well. Let's just get there. Well, of course, as always, we can't have a show without our producer, the legendary Savak, the guy who's telling you all about South Florida, and also will answer your legal questions at the end of the episode here, is Chad Van Horn.
Yes, sir.
Who,
cheers.
I guess the New Year's celebration is still here. And straight from happy hour, Sun-Sentinel columnist and the host of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. He is Chris Perkins. Wasn't going to miss this one.
No, let's go, baby. Let's go. We got
it feels like it's been forever.
GM, Harbaugh, Tua. Let's go.
I mean, you just went through the whole show run. There it is. That's everything. So yeah, let's try to make some sense out of this, right? Well, I guess we're not going to make sense, but let's just try and put some order to it. So Mike McDaniel survives a 7-10 season, a 1-6 start, his second consecutive losing season. He survives Black Monday. There was speculation all year. We heard different things. He might not. And then I feel like as soon as he stepped to the podium at 4 p.m., Perk, that things just started to get a little bit Dolphin willy-nilly. And to me, it began with him informing us that the pending GM search that we had heard a lot about, Troy Aikman, we'll get into all that Mike McDaniel was also going to be involved in the GM search. You were in that press conference. In fact, I think you asked Mike McDaniel if he was going to get back to being the fun, joking Mike McDaniel, which was an interesting question. What was the feeling in the press room when those things were being told to you?
You know what? Mike is back in control. He was a little shaky earlier. He's back in control. I think that at a certain level, he's been given an assurance that he is the corporate survivor. We used to talk about Chris Greer being the corporate survivor, right? How does he survive all this? Mike McDaniel is the corporate survivor. John Harbaugh is the wild card. We'll see what happens there. But Mike McDaniel is the guy who has survived all of this stuff. I think he came off as a pretty confident guy at the press conference, and he should be because, look, he is involved at some extent, we don't know to what extent, in helping select or hire the next GM. So you think about it like this. If you're the next GM of the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel has helped you land the job of your lifetime. How are you going to go against this man? He's going to be a Mike McDaniel yes man, isn't he? And so the Dolphins are kind of in this same old cycle. So that was one of my primary takeaways from the press conference. I'll let y'all go from there.
Well, let me just ask you this while you're at it. And he definitely came across confident, and I think that you almost heard the collective air of Dolphins Nation across the globe. It just all came out of the balloon, right? Like when everybody heard that, because it just sounded like, hey, I'm here, till somebody tells me I'm not, I'm here. Yeah. But the idea that he would be involved in the search, and then the next day, sources from inside the building start to tell different people, I know Barry tweeted it, he's not going to be involved in these conversations. And here's the people that are on the Zoom meetings. So what do you make of that? Where are are they just backtracking? Did the Dolphins run into something where somebody said, hey, we're going to make Quinn Ewers the number 2 quarterback. Now he's going to be back to the number 3 quarterback. Are they backtracking because things kind of blew up in their face? Did he speak out of turn? What do you make of all that?
Well, let me say this first of all. You guys are familiar with the Jacksonville Jaguars situation, right? When they hired Liam Cohen, well, they wanted to hire Liam Cohen as their head coach.
Yep.
And he was going to be a first-time head coach. He said, I'm not going there if Trent Baalke is the GM. They fired Trent Baalke as the GM, and then they hired Liam Cohen, and they allowed Liam Cohen to have a voice in naming the next GM. They hired 34-year-old James Gladstone, who is now 35 years old. They've won 13 games. They're now into the playoffs. So maybe the Dolphins are onto something when they say that Mike McDaniel gets to have a voice in naming the next GM. Having said that, it doesn't smell right because Mike McDaniel has not earned it. I know Liam Cohen hadn't earned it, but I don't think Mike McDaniel has earned it either. So we'll see what happens here. I do think it's an interesting situation, but Mike McDaniel, look, he could be a corporate survivor. I go back to this, that Steve Ross likes that there's order in that building, right? There's not the sniping that you had before when Dennis Hickey was saying this and Mike Tannenbaum was saying this and Don Aponte was saying this. Mike McDaniel has united that building, and Mike and Steve Ross really likes that he can go back there and there's calm and there's not that chaos of 7 different people whispering in his ear. That works hugely in Mike McDaniel's favor.
Yeah, but there's chaos now though, right? What you're saying, I mean, that's the way it was. There was a lot of kumbaya before that, but there's a lot of chaos going on right now. And I mean, if Mike's in the middle of it, then how the hell is that? I don't get how Mr. Ross thinks that's okay right now that, Mike's still in the middle of this chaos and could be a part of the next search. It's so funny because I talked to somebody today. We seem like we win the damn all season every year when it comes to, press. We win the damn all season, and it started early as hell this year for us, from Chris Greer's firing to everything at the end of not making all this shit, man. It drives me nuts. And but I'm just confused as to why last year, Perk, they made the announcement right after the last game that that Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel were back. Yeah. And this year, no statement, no nothing from the owner. So what the hell's going on here, bro?
I'll tell you this, that the word is from inside that building that there's no need to say that Mike McDaniel is coming back because he's under contract. So you would assume that he's coming back. The feeling from inside the building is they made a mistake last year by saying that Greer and McDaniel were coming back because now that sets a precedent that you need to make a statement every year that the people under contract are coming back. Don't expect a statement this year that Mike McDaniel is coming back. Just assume that he is, because technically, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first year that his extension kicks in 2026. That's the feeling inside the building.
I mean, does the extension matter? You're about to burn $94 million, with the quarterback that's probably not going to be there. So I don't think, I don't know how big the extension was, but I'm with Juice. I think, you're talking about that there's harmony, and I certainly recognize all the backstabbing that was going on in that regime that you referenced before. But again, Mike McDaniel said, I'll be involved. And then you hear he's not going to be involved. And then you sell the team to the fish tank. Yeah. We need some good backers, Chad Van Horn. I just want to put that out there. But we're down. 18 to 20 billion on you, Chad. 18 to 20 billion. Count us in. Yeah. If we can get a good financial backing, then we're all for it. But
I'll kick in 5,000.
Let's also not forget you had every day. Who did you hear was going to be a part of the GM search? Right, the Troy Aikman pops up out of nowhere, and then was like, well, what about Dan Marino? And then you start to get the little sprinklings that Dan Marino is going to be involved. Then we start to hear a bunch of stuff about Brandon Shore. I think Cam Wolf tweeted something about Brandon Shore is going to be leading the charge, and then that disappeared. And then all of a sudden that was gone. And then Tom Garfinkel's name popped back in. Then we start to hear Mr. Ross's son-in-law. So to me, I don't know. I don't know if it's because information is being I don't want to say leaked, but somehow people are getting information, and so the team is having to respond to that and has never really gotten out in front of it, or if it's not as harmonious as maybe you're letting on.
Well, no, I don't think it's harmonious. Here's the deal. I don't trust this process at all. I don't trust the Dolphins because they messed up everything in the past. What you've got right now is 8 candidates, and I should have all their names in front of me, but starting with Champ Kelly and 3 people from the 49ers organization, you've got 8 candidates who are going to be interviewed or hired to some extent by a committee of 6 or 7 people? Steve Ross, Daniel Silman, his son-in-law, Tom Garfinkel, the president, Brandon Shore, the salary capologist, Dan Marino, one Hall of Fame quarterback, Troy Aikman, another Hall of Fame quarterback. It's just so many voices and so many people involved. It just seems like it's a convoluted process that's destined to fail. It seems so Dolphins.
There's only honestly, I mean, people you're talking about, there's a couple real people that you trust in the game. Not even Danny. You look at Danny in the situation. What I was telling somebody the other day is I like Troy Aikman's involved because Troy through TV has had an opportunity to talk to a lot of organizations. Like he's been able to sit in front of a lot of people and do a lot of interviews like that through TV. And it's probably got some relationships and things like that. So I'm kind of cool with that. But then you look at some of the other guys that are involved, you got to have it present. You got to have your owner involved, right? I mean, he's got to sign off on all that. And of course, Tom would love to be a part of everything, I'm sure. So, I mean, you got to have a few voices. You think that's too many voices, Perkins, what you're saying? You got to have a few voices in this thing, right?
I think it's too many voices. I don't know who is the final voice. I don't know who are the final 2 voices. Steve Ross is the final voice, right, Chad? Yeah. But who should be the number 2 voice? Like, is it Tom Garfinkel? Is it Brandon Shore? Is it Troy Aikman? Is it Dan Marino? Chad, you've been involved in corporate decisions. This just seems too convoluted, too many interviewees, and too many people making the decision.
No, it screams of indecisiveness. I mean, and that's what it is right now. And unfortunately, and I don't know Mr. Ross at all, and obviously he's been very successful in a lot of things that he did, but he just seems to be attracted to pretty things, and like something sparkly happens over there. Oh wait, something sparkly happens over there. Like Troy Aikman obviously makes a lot of sense because he's on TV, he's meeting with these people. But you had the Tom Brady thing. You have a lot of things that just seem to catch his eye, and then he moves on quickly. And you want more of a steady hand, if you will, that's making this decision. If you ask me.
Yeah, I mean it's a fair point. What happened to Perk? Did we lose Perk? Should I be surprised?
I'm coming back.
Perk is always on the comeback.
Oh, that's too good.
Exactly. I was somebody trying to see something that had come across on Twitter here. Something about some finalists.
Okay, I thought you got breaking news, so we'll give them a hard pass.
So let's do this, and I'm sure we'll be bouncing all around on our phones.
I'm coming back.
But as part of this GM search, so we have the Mike McDaniel press conference. We have the reaction to him saying that he will be involved. He won't be making the decision, but he will be involved. And then what we have is the Dolphins have like 6 GM candidates that they're interviewing, and it's all of those people that we just talked about. And then they add another candidate in that first day, I guess on that Tuesday. And that first candidate was that additional candidate was Chargers assistant general manager Chad Alexander, not to be confused with our very own Chad Van Horn, but Chad Alexander, who not only was working with Jim Harbaugh at the time with the Chargers, but he was 20 years in the Ravens organization, knew John Harbaugh. Right. So all of a sudden now the antennas go up that, do you want to make sure you talk to this guy as well? Because we find out the Ravens have parted ways with Super Bowl winning head coach John Harbaugh, which let me pause for a second as Chad is showcasing. Okay, somebody's asked. Okay, Andrew wants to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Chad Van Horn ended the Miami Dolphins season in Pittsburgh, gloated here,
And then to make up for it, he ended the Ravens' career of John Harbaugh and while ending the Ravens season and made John Harbaugh okay. So he's given us hope again. You're toying with us, Chad, is I think what you're doing.
But Seth, you're missing a point. We might have given the Ravens a new coach that is coaching for the Dolphins right now. I don't know if you heard about that. I know Perk knows about that, right? I hear that's the rumor.
Yeah, we've heard about.
Well, he was interviewed, right?
Yeah.
Anthony Weaver was interviewed.
Weaver.
Yeah.
And he has connections. I mean, I heard you guys complain about the defense all year, so I hope as an AFC North rival, I hope they hire him because obviously he doesn't sound that good. But
I actually,
I wish him the best of luck.
I think he might be a better head coach than what we saw as a coordinator. I was a little disappointed. I mean, I was a lot disappointed at the lapses when the defense, the beginning of the season was abysmal. It was like historically bad. Yeah, and then we kind of saw things wax and wane. And I didn't like that he came in late in the season and talked about next year that we got to get the players in early. I don't want to hear that.
Well, there's the talk in Perkins. There's the talk about how complicated the defense was. And with any system, there goes Perk. With any system, you're gonna need guys in order to get it figured out, man. Offensive systems are probably the worst, but defensive systems are just as tough now and just as complicated. So if you got guys coming in late like we did, all our corners came in late, or we got young guys that that playing the defensive line that are trying to figure out how to play in the NFL still. So I get that. But that being said, though, late in the season, we still had all these fuck ups.
That's my point, Juice. Like, I don't want to hear that. Right. I don't want to hear that. Right. And then he backed off of that the next time he got up to the podium. So it just seems to be the way they go. But the point that I was making is he, to me, carries himself with all of the. I mean, he seems like a leader of men to me. He's clearly incredibly bright. He's got a commanding presence. He seems to, so I understand why he would be an appealing candidate for people who are interviewing head coaches. I don't know enough. I think all these people that pretend to tell us about who's going to be a good general manager, anybody who is on social media telling us about assistant general managers like, you're full of shit.
They know nothing, Seth. Absolutely fucking nothing, man.
How can you know what's going on there? Like, when have you sat in with that person's evaluations? The only thing that you can possibly know right now is that Perk's internet sucks. Beyond that, you have no. I don't buy it.
That's it. And you got to look at. You can go ahead, Chad.
Real quick, Juice, because you made a point. Multiple fish tanks that all this movement, the in and out. You have 40 seconds right between plays, and they have these packages that come in, and the defense and the offense both they're putting different packages in. It just creates confusion. It creates more penalties. Like, what happened? And maybe this is just the old school in me. And I know you said you were on the field 100% of the time, basically. Like, is that gone? Where the old school, it's like, no, we're going to line it with our best guys, and we're just going to win.
That is gone.
Because I feel like it's being too cute. I don't know.
It's gone, man. Guys are tapping themselves out of games, man, and shit. You know what I mean? I remember at one point, Mark Clayton tells a story about somebody came to take him out of the huddle, and he says it's going to be 12 players. There's going to be 12 players on the field then. I'm not coming out of the damn game. But these dudes tap out, man, and I get it. I mean, they want to be – I guess they want to be fresh for every play. You can't be fresh for every play. You get fresh for every play in the off-season. That's what the off-season is for. You know what I mean? To be able to play 60, 70 plays a game without coming out of the damn game, man. So, yeah, I think all of it's been very complicated. And we've heard it, hell. When I did the little piece with Tua – in the locker room, he read off this play. It was 22 words. 22 damn words, Big Seth. To say elephant. E stands for something, L stands for something, E, whatever the hell it is, man. But 22 words, and like Chad's talking about, you talk about 40 seconds. Sometimes it's only 25 seconds, and the mic cuts off at 15 seconds. You know what I mean? So there's no communication anymore at 15 seconds. So it's even harder than that. But what I did like, and we'll talk about Quinn a little bit. We'll get on to that. But Quinn got those boys to the line of scrimmage a lot quicker than what Tua was doing. Them dudes were lollygagging. Like Major League, there were a bunch of lollygaggers getting to the line of scrimmage. That's for damn sure.
How does that happen? How does the guy who's got no experience How is he able to make that? So, Juice, help me out. There's nobody who can explain it better than you, at least out of the group of the five of us here, right? Because you've been coached to do that. You've been in different huddles with different quarterbacks. What sets that tone? How does Tua, who was the unquestioned leader of that offense coming into the season, how is he not able to have the operation running as smoothly as yours was?
Yeah, I noticed it right away when Quinn got in. The guys were getting up to the line of scrimmage because there's so much going on, so much operational stuff going on. Like, first, let's get to how a play is called first. First of all, you got the personnel group, right? Then personnel group first. Then we're gonna go formation. I write. We got 3 wide. I write. All right, formation right away. Play call. Then you got motions, you got shifts. Shift to I right, motion to I right, flip to I right. All this shit that goes on, and then you got a 22-word play on top of that. So it's imperative to get up on the line of scrimmage. But here's another thing too, Seth, and we saw this early. We saw this for the last 4 years, actually. We had dudes that have been in the system for years, line up on the wrong fucking side, and then get direct. Even Quinn was directing guys last week. To get to the correct side of the field before we go in motion or before we go and shift or whatever it is. So there's a disconnect somewhere with guys that when it comes, walk shit through. Stop sitting in the classroom. Stop sitting in the classroom writing on the chalkboard, turn the lights down, showing film. Because I'm gonna tell you what, the motherfuckers are sleeping. So I know some of my dudes are sleeping right beside me. I have to elbow them half the time. Wake your ass up, man. It's important.
If they're there, right, Juice?
Right, if they're there.
We heard about with some of these guys.
Everybody got mad at Danny, always like, he throws the ball to OG all the time. Well, motherfucker, I'm the one that's awake in meetings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Trust me, he knows I'm going to be where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. Wake your ass up. He might want to throw you the rock, too.
I know I'm not supposed to talk about former Dolphins, but do you see the Aaron Rodgers, Jonnu Smith video? Where Jonnu Smith went in motion?
Is the rule.
No, Jonnu Smith went in motion.
He said, "What the fuck are you doing?" Or something.
What the fuck are you doing? Get your ass over here.
Yeah, I like that shit, man.
But that's a quarterback that's directing things. And obviously I'm not Mr. Aaron Rodgers fan, but that's the quarterback that's directing things and holding people accountable. And that's what needs to happen in Miami. That's what needs to happen in every offense. It's no, if you're doing something stupid, you're not paying attention. Somebody needs to hold you accountable. Who is that in Miami? And I don't know who that is. Well, it's OJ McDuffie right now.
It needs to start at the top with the head coach. I think that is maybe the root of. So Juice and I did on Monday before the press conference, we did a little show, and we talked about one reason why if Stephen Ross sat us down, which would never happen, but if he did and said, give me one reason to keep Mike McDaniel, one reason to move on from Mike McDaniel. And we talked about those things. But one of the issues, and ultimately we both, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Juice, but we got it on tape. Ultimately, we both felt it was time to move on. Even though we're not big fire this guy, fire that guy guys, we felt that it was time to move on. And one of them is that it's just this consistent kind of lack of accountability that you see across the football team. And that's, I don't want to keep hearing about you're a problem solver. I understand that comes with the job, but ultimately you got to keep everybody accountable. So I find that to be problematic. Real quick, Tom Pelissero just tweeted not that long ago, 10 minutes ago, the Dolphins are moving into the second phase of their GM search and will conduct in-person interviews this week with 4 candidates. Chad Alexander of the Chargers, who we just talked about and who has the longtime relationship with John Harbaugh, Packers Eric Sullivan, 49ers Josh Williams, and their interim GM Champ Kelly, per sources. So that was 9:09 p.m.
So in persons a couple of those teams are in the playoffs right now too. So it's going to be probably in and out, and come try to get a job somewhere.
Yeah, I think I read that was the rule, right? That if a team is in the postseason and there's a certain point that you have to make the request, and if the request is granted, then they can leave their team and go do that and come back for the interview. So there's all those policies. Hey, the good news is they're following the rules, right? That's the good news. Now we did hear, because this is how Stephen Ross.
Wait, hold on real quick. As a lawyer, if I describe you, Seth, as like, well, at least it doesn't break laws.
Right.
Like, would you think you're doing well in life?
I would think that it is
Better
an
than most.
improvement.
The bare minimum.
Thank
you. Like, Crooked Chris over here. Crooked Chris knows.
Hey,
You like to call him sideways Perkins.
Oh, he's back now. All right, he's back.
Well,
Yeah,
listen, we're not
come on.
you know, clandestine meetings on a yacht or things of that nature. I mean, let's
Right.
not forget that has been part of the tenure here. So that's one of the issues. And when you think about Harbaugh, the last time that Stephen Ross was interested in a Harbaugh for this team, he also had a head coach in place as well.
Right.
And that was bungled and it became problematic. And he ended up giving an extension to Tony Sperano, who he ended up firing that same season. So, you know, my hope is that all of those things have allowed them organizationally to say, okay, we have to do something. We may not agree or like what agree with or like what they end up doing, but at the very least, if it doesn't cost us draft picks,
Right.
you know, I mean, that would be.
Which it has, which has honestly been a problem. You know, the draft pick we lost because of that. You know what I mean? That we've been setting up nicely, you know, with draft picks. One thing Chris did do, we did have some draft capital. Of course, Laramie Tunsil deal hooked us up for a long time, and I think we kind of fucked that up because now that's probably run its course, right, Chris? And we done with everything Laramie Tunsil gave us pretty much.
Yeah, done.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't do anything with that. We didn't do a damn thing. We didn't do a damn thing with that, Big Seth. I didn't bite my tongue.
Yeah, I think Waddle came from it.
Waddle.
Okay. All right. No. Hey, I'm going to say this too. Seth, we said this too, man. I mean, when we were talking about that point about Mike and the reason to keep him, he did get the best of Tua that we'd seen. How many people were done with Tua, you know, until Mike did what he did with Tua.
But you know what?
I'm listening.
Okay, but Juice, here's what I think. I think that Mike just told Tua, throw it to Tyreek. Because what was Tua before Tyreek? What has Tua been after Tyreek?
So Tyreek's the reason for his success.
Well, I do think that, but I'll say this also in Mike's favor, because I try to be fair. I think that Mike did his best coaching job the second half of this season when they went to the run-first offense. Yeah. He was in his bag as far as, you know, play calling and creativity with Brunskill as the sixth offensive lineman. They had more success against the 8-man front with a run-first offense than they did against the 2 deep safeties with the pass-first offense. So I think that this offense was better, but you just asked, why did it take that long to get to it? I think the dink and dunk offense they went last year was better. It was more consistent. It was more stable, but why did it take that long to get to it? And when you commit to Mike for 2026, are you committing to Mike for 2027? Because he's going to have a young team. Like, how it's a rebuild, right? How can you fire him at 1-5 or 1-6? And then what happens to that GM that was Mike approved? If Mike is 1-5, 1-6, is that GM going to fire Mike? And are you going to keep that GM because he agreed with Mike? I just think there's more questions than answers at this point.
Well, so again, look at the history of this franchise, and yes, each year is its own year. But I'm going to take you all the way back to the Dave Wannstedt era, and Dave Wannstedt, like Mike McDaniel, led his team to the playoffs in his first 2 seasons. Dave Wannstedt, like Mike McDaniel, failed to reach the postseason in his next 2 seasons. Now, in fairness, well, I don't know if you can call it fairness or not. I think we were 9-7 and 10-6 one year and didn't make the playoffs, but we also had Ricky Williams as the leading rusher in the NFL, Jason Taylor as the leading pass rusher in the NFL, and still didn't make the playoffs, went 9-7. So that, you know, maybe that's an even bigger failure. But the point that I'm making is after that 4th season, there were questions as to whether or not Dave Wannstedt should remain the head coach. Fans
we didn't have Twitter, but fans were up in arms in the way that they are right now regarding Mike McDaniel. Dave Wannstedt, a good man that everybody liked. Mike McDaniel, a good man that everybody likes. Dave Wannstedt probably got an additional year because his owner liked him as much as Stephen Ross apparently likes Mike McDaniel. So then what did Wayne Huizinga do? He called a Hall of Fame quarterback to put him in charge of football to help make decisions, but he was only here temporarily. Dave Wannstedt goes into the season. In fairness, Ricky Williams ends up in the tent in Australia, but Wannstedt doesn't finish the season. The team goes 4-12, and then you move on from him in the middle of your 5th year. So now you've got Mike McDaniel going into his 5th year. What did we do? We called another Hall of Fame quarterback in Troy Aikman to help you try and figure things out. Is it going to be the same fate for Mike McDaniel? Are you running it back just to run him off before the season's over?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this: he's gonna run himself off, Seth. If he goes out there and goes 1-6 and 1-6 again and start the season, we won't even get to that. What's that?
He went 2-6 and 1-6 the last 2 years.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. If he does that again, if we run it back for year 5, if he does that again, he won't get to week 7. That'll be.
But Juice, what about the GM? But what about the GM who Mike McDaniel approved?
But and you know this much better than I do, that if they're 1-6, the GM is going to have free reign to fire him. And going back to a quick point, and Juice, I know you met Mike. I met Mike. To me, he seems like that guy that needs a challenge. So if there's easy answers that he's taking, and that might be the Tyreek Hill take, he'll take that. But when he gets a challenge, that's when he's in his bag, if you will. That's when he's making things happen. And hopefully that's what happens. Go ahead, Seth. I see you.
No, I was just going to say, how about the challenge of being the worst 3rd quarter team in the entire National Football League? How about that challenge?
130 to 27. 130 to 27.
What the fuck?
I'll score by 103 points in the 3rd quarter. I mean, that's really honestly.
And you know what, Chad? Respectfully, they had to improve to suck. Right? They had to win 5 out of 6 so that they could finish 7-10. I mean, come on. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, you prognosticated what, 10-7. So I don't know if I'm listening to you, Perk.
No, he also was sideways when he did that.
Yeah, he meant the other way. He meant
to flip
it for real. Flip it for real. We read it wrong, Chad. We read it wrong. I was with Perk. I didn't think we would be as bad as we were. But here's the thing about Mike. We talked about this too, and I think Perk, you were talking about this. Mike finally got in his bag in the run game, but he still finds time to abandon it. He really does, man. Like he really finds time to abandon the run game. You go right now. Jalen Wright. I thought that he was like when Achane, who's probably top 2 or 3 backs in the league, man. He was incredible this year. I don't know what we do without Achane, but they found a way to get him running between the tackles, outside, catching the ball. They finally stopped him from running routes down the field. I told him I'm glad they stopped that shit. You know what I mean? Because he's not, running backs can't run routes. They can, some can't, most can't. But the fact that they were getting going and running the football was great. And then when he's out, you saw Wright running the football well. But see, then you look at it, we had a great game of running the football. We think, all right, next game we're going to run the football. Then 8 out of the first 12 plays in the next game, he's throwing the rock. Like bro, we have, as a team, we have to find ways to shorten football games. Easiest way to shorten football games is run the football. And when you're able to run the football successfully, I think you'll be a successful football team. We don't do that. And I don't know when, if I know Mike likes to flare and the flash, but hell, man, sometimes you got to get some ground and pound. You got to be like it happens, especially playing in the Northeast. You got to be able to ground and pound in the Northeast instead of trying to put that rock in the air. Every team up there, they find a way to run the football. Every single one of them. Look, the Jets' leading receiver was 365 yards, the leading receiver this year.
Is that unbelievable?
You could have beat that, Juice,
man.
Is that
you could have beat that.
Yo, it's like before the invention of the forward pass that they went back to, bro. You know what I mean? It's like what the hell, But you got Breece Hall and those boys, they can run the
football.
So
let me ask y'all this. Let me ask you all this. So at the press conference, season-ending press conference, I asked Mike McDaniel what the Dolphins offense would look like in 2026, especially considering Tyreek and Tua might not be there. And he said it will be dictated by what talent you have. I'm kind of from the school that you need a strong GM and you need a strong coach who have a system, and then you recruit to the system. Because otherwise, you're always going to be vulnerable to injuries and free agency and salary cap. What's our offense going to be? I think you get a system and you recruit to the system, and that's why you need a strong GM who can say who can tell to the head coach, these are the type of players that we need. Do y'all agree with that? Do you think that's what Philly and San Francisco and Baltimore have done? Because that's how I see the league.
I'm gonna tell you, a injury-proof system way of doing things is just make sure you're so solid up front. Get you a whole bunch of big uglies on both sides of football, and then you can handle your skill guys from there. Just keep stacking big ugly guys up front that can, that are vying for a starting position that can play. Don't worry about all the flash guys. There's a bunch of flash guys out there. There's a bunch of not a lot of good first rounders like myself, but there's a lot of other guys out there that can. Except, I thought you say something, except I was just playing. But there are a lot of guys out there that can fill those other roles, man. But get you some big nasties up front that are injury proof. If somebody goes down, somebody's ready to step in and go out there and play. And that right there, that travels. All that travels. Look, we talked about Achane having a great season, but when Wright was behind them boys too, how'd he run? He ran hard, he ran well. I don't know what Ollie would have done if he'd had more opportunities. So keep building those nasties up front, and then we'll worry about the skill guys afterwards. And that's it's we get too flashy with what we do instead of being grimy. Teams are getting back to being grimy when it comes to NFL football. Yeah. When they're running the football, they're playing tough-nosed football. It's just like changing. We ran it back in the day when I played, even though we threw it more than most. But everybody's looking at the tailbacks and the linebackers. Nowadays, teams are running the football. They're back to running the football. You saw somebody had, it was Drake May the other day. What did he go, 18 for 20?
Yeah.
What I mean?
Yep.
It doesn't. When have you seen teams only throw the ball 20 times anymore? That's the way the game has changed, where they're running the rock and running it.
They ran for 245, I think.
Hey, Juice. Let me tell you something, man. You're exactly right. And I've been a big proponent of that this season, defense is ruling in college and NFL. You look at college, Indiana's defense rules, right? Ohio State's defense ruled, even though they got dominated. Miami's defense rules. People look at the quarterback, but it's a lot of defense. You look at the NFL where Denver, New England, the Chargers, Jacksonville, a lot of these teams, Houston, Chicago, a lot of these teams, the defense is ruling right now. Joe Burrow is not in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes not in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson not in the playoffs. You're right, Juice. Defense is ruling right now, and there's just I think the takeaway is there's more than one way to build a team and have success. Don't just force yourself to go into that quarterback thing.
Right.
Well, let me jump into this, and I brought this up weeks ago, so I'll just brag about it. First off, you can't pay your quarterback Tua money if he's not MVP, and you can't even pay your quarterback MVP money if he's MVP, because that's what we're seeing in Baltimore right now. And there's obviously rumors that he may come down here after the Steelers retired his season and his coach. So I'm interested to hear whether you think that there's going to be a reduction, if you will, in those top line, because it really is a hard cap. You guys have talked about the hard cap. It's a hard cap. And Baltimore had their best years, obviously, when he was on his rookie deal. Once he got paid, they started going downhill. And that happens all the
Chiefs
time.
won Super Bowls with Mahomes making. He was the first guy to get that big $500 million contract, and he won.
Yeah, but he had it was extended over how many years though? His money was
100%.
His money was super long.
Yeah,
that's why we're seeing it now.
Contract was
we're seeing it now,
man. Yeah, and that's how they were able to prorate it over all those years and make it work for everybody.
But I think the bigger thing that Chad said is,
but you know what?
Who are you paying that money to? Because like the problem isn't the money Tua was making. The problem was the performance that he gave us. That's ultimately what the problem was. All anybody talked about coming into this season is if Tua stays healthy, then bop. If Tua stays healthy, well, damn it, he did.
Right.
And what? We got the worst version of him.
And he was trash.
You know what? I think he was, and I think that there's no formula. There's no formula. There's a best business practice. The best is rookie contract. However, if you look at, and if I'm not mistaken, if you look at Seattle, Russell Wilson, those early years, he was never in the top half of the league in pass attempts until his fourth season. They won with beast mode and with Legion of Boom. I think Denver, even though their defense is good, Bo Nix's pass attempts have been top of the league, even though he's not a great quarterback. So it's kind of you just figure out how you have to win. That people want to say that there's a formula. It's whatever works best for your team. Look, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have never been to a Super Bowl. They're elite quarterbacks. Right. You do whatever works best for your team.
But Perk, look at all the top paid quarterbacks right now. Other than Patrick Mahomes that took that ridiculous deal, Dak Prescott, like you look at all of them. And they're not in the playoffs, and they're not competing for a championship. And you look at somebody, and I know I'm a homer, you look at somebody like the Steelers that bring in Aaron Rodgers on a friendly deal where they can keep their players. Like you need the offensive line. You need the wide.
Yeah. They need it. I
mean,
if that dude makes that field goal,
you do.
We beat the hell out of the Dolphins, and we're the king of the North. But no, if you have the wide receivers,
said the whole AFC North beat the hell out of us, though. You didn't do anything special.
Beat the hell out of the Dolphins. You and everybody else.
So even the Browns got
and we had DK take 2 games off. It's cool. Like we're good. We don't even need wide receivers because wide receivers are overrated. Like Juice can agree to this.
If that kid makes that field goal, then it's then what?
What about the extra? What about the extra points, Seth? We're just gonna kickers are humans too. Like things happen.
But things do happen. They're not football players. But you can't tell me that that's the plan. That's the way to create a winning football team when it could have gone the other way.
I can 100% tell you that the way to make a winning football team is not putting 25% of your cap towards one player, regardless of who that player is.
That's fair. I think, but you got to have your best players need to be at their best when the moment when it matters, and that includes your coach and whoever's calling the play.
I don't care who you are, man. Even your worst players got to be their best, the best they can be.
Right.
No
That's the one.
The hell it is, man. You know what I mean?
And that's what I think is the highest of the high that you're going to get for that $50-60 million that you're going to pay. You can get a $10 or $12 million player that'll make up for that difference if you weren't paying that. And because it's a hard cap. It's not the NBA, it's not the MLB. If you're paying that much money to one player, that's gonna hinder your offensive line, your skill players, your wide receivers, your defense somewhere is gonna have to make up for it, and they can't because they just don't have that talent.
Chad, when I was with the Dolphins, I'm gonna say my rookie year, I'm not sure, it went up a little bit. But the salary cap in the league was $49 million for the whole team.
Oh my God.
For the whole team.
Oh my God.
Think about that, man. You know what I mean? Of course, there was no, they didn't have all the betting things and all the fantasy things and all the commercial things. They all the things that raised the revenue, all the TV stuff that raised the revenue back then. But it wasn't America's favorite sport at that point. But man, $49 million total for the whole team. And Danny had a nice chunk of that, you know what I mean? And then when Jimmy came in, Jimmy had the whole defense had most of the money.
Wait, Juice, wasn't he like the first $1 million quarterback? I think though
he was.
So
the first $1 million player. First $1 million player in the league.
So that still would be like 2% of the cap, is what I'm saying.
No. By the time he did that in the 80s. I'm talking about by the time he got by the time I got there, Danny was already $7-8 million a year, I think, Big Seth, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay attention.
I don't know. I'll look his numbers up. Savat, what you doing over there? Find his numbers for me. No, laughing and shit. Find the numbers.
I know, right? Yeah. Emmy Award producer, but you know, Pittsburgh people. That's just what they do. No, Pittsburgh people. That's what they do. They just make money.
Yeah, but you know what though, man? I mean, honestly, it's hard for these guys when they get their first deals to be team friendly. I get it. If they're going to give Tua that money, you're going to say, no, I don't want to do that. Fuck that. I'm not going to take this money. I don't blame. But we all expected Tua to get it and then play it, earn it, the rest of it. You know what I mean? And it seems like once he did this at training camp,
all downhill.
I haven't seen anything since. You know what I mean?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
So that's the larger issue, right? It's the performance. That's really the larger issue. And even the fact that he was given that contract. He could have played out on the fifth year, right? I mean, they didn't have to give him that contract, but they did give him that contract. And now it seems like everybody's just blaming Chris Grier for everything. And I get it. Chris Grier earned a lot of that.
Did he give him that contract? Did he give Ramsey more money? Did he give Tyreek money when they didn't have to do all that?
Yeah, but you can't tell me that Mike McDaniel wasn't the guy throwing the adult tantrums.
Mike's still here and Chris isn't. Right. So I don't know how it went
flipping
down.
Point, Juice.
Right.
That's my point. Is that
Tua
at his press conference said a little birdie told me that Mike went in there and fought for me. Like he flat out said it. And Tua, there's no filter. He's going to say some dumb shit.
Didn't Mike have to though? Because Mike fought for him on the plane. He fought for him on the plane.
And that's how he got hired. Then he should own that. He should have to own
it.
Why does he get a pass?
Here's what I would ask you guys. I with respect to the John Harbaugh rumors, is Mike McDaniel the second most powerful guy in the organization, ahead of Tom Garfinkel, after Steve Ross, ahead of Tom Garfinkel, maybe parallel with Tom Garfinkel, and because he survived, right? Tua is gone, Chris Grier is gone, Mike McDaniel is still here. Does Mike McDaniel? He's on the committee or whatever to name the next GM. This dude wields power in this organization, right?
Until he doesn't. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Until he doesn't. It's still to be determined, in my opinion, man, what's going to happen. They said no, there's been no comment, no statement about him being back. And I get that, Perk. You said that because he's under contract, but all the dominoes haven't fallen yet. You know what I mean? I think Chad Steelers are going to still get rid of Tomlin. If they don't win, they're going to get rid of Tomlin if Tomlin doesn't win because they don't want him. They don't respect him. They don't deserve him. They don't deserve Mike. So if Mike gets the market too, then what? It can be very interesting still. There's a lot of time.
Seth, let me give a legal opinion real quick.
Okay.
So you'll hire another black coach that will sue you. And I might represent him this time because I have a connection.
What?
No, have you heard Brian Flores?
I'm going to keep moving.
Anyway.
Yeah, we're going to move right past that.
Yeah, we're not even going to touch that.
I'm not even going to touch that. So, but I'll throw another coach out there.
You're going to want Brian Flores when he gets paid for what happened. Why?
I'll throw another coach out there that they're talking about that may not have a job if he doesn't advance past his first game in the playoffs, and that's Matt LaFleur, right? We're starting to see that name as well. And so
I was going to say Sean McDermott.
That would be interesting. It all blows my mind. It's like people don't realize when they actually have something. You have to be truly dysfunctional to understand how good people have it elsewhere. Right, yeah. And I think the Ravens are a perfect example of that. Like, okay, you want something fresh, you want a fresh start. 18 years of stability, a Super Bowl championship, playoff after playoff after playoff, and a missed field goal from being in the playoffs again. despite the fact that you had all these other things you were dealing with this year. So I think they're going to regret that unless they just get flipping lucky. And, you know, just like look, the Eagles bounced back, but Andy Reid, it was a guy that okay, yeah, we don't like going to the NFC Championship 4 years in a row. We don't want to do that. So we're going to get rid of him. I think people need to go through our pain to understand what it's like to have.
Wait.
Everybody needs to shut the hell up.
Juice, let me start real quick.
Shut the hell up too, Chad.
I do as well. But I think Perk will actually agree with me on this. It's the system around the person. It's not, and the person obviously makes it happen, but it's the system around the person. You can name Mike Tomlin, Vince Lombardi. You can bring whoever to a bad situation.
Who puts the system in? If I take Chad Van Horn out of
the owner
law group,
no, the owner,
not the football team.
I'm the owner. No, I've seen it at my law firm, and I've seen it at a football team. I've seen people in bad systems that have been great attorneys that I've rehabilitated to be great attorneys, and they just came in. And no, I'm the owner, and it starts at the ownership. It starts at ownership, where I'm telling you, if you brought these coaches in that are Hall of Fame coaches, incredible coaches, you brought Mike Tomlin, especially of a 30-something-year-old coach, into a bad situation, he could have failed miserably and just burnt out of the league quickly.
Fair. It's a well-run organization from top to bottom.
But Big Seth, but what you're saying, but our owner is not going to be one to be able to figure out which guys are going to be the best guys to run an organization when it comes to football. He knows the business side. He and Tom know the business side, but the football side is a whole different animal when it comes to football. You've got, and I'm going to give this to all of our owners, and I'm going to tell you this: our owners have tried to bring in the best coaches. Look, we've been through this before.
Yep.
We've tried to bring in the best coaches that were available out there. You know, we've missed obviously on a lot of them. I mean, but we tried. You go get a guy like Nick Saban. You know, even Adam Gase was a hot item coming out. You know what I mean? There's obviously some flub-ups, can't go whatever. You know, we had a chance at Mike Tomlin 18, 19 years ago. You know what I mean? We've had chances, but we brought in some of the hottest guys that were out there, and the next thing you know, they're not that hot. So, you know, just because guys have been successful, and one thing we've also done too, we brought in a lot of first-year guys, first-time head coaches. You know, we need to maybe find some precedent somewhere. Where some guys, like we're talking about, some of these guys we're talking about, they've established something somewhere, and I think that's important for us to start and stop. If we're looking for a new head coach, I'm not looking for a first-time head coach,
even if his last name is Shula.
You know, I got a soft spot there.
But Juice,
you can't put me like that, Nick.
But Juice, I think your point, and again, I think Perk will agree with this. Your point.
Why the hell would Perk agree with everything you say, Chad?
He does. He normally doesn't, but because I give him free legal advice, maybe he will. But you want that experienced guy to come in because he won't put up with the bullshit. He comes in and he negotiates coming in like, hey, I'll come in, but here's what I expect. If you're there's only 32 jobs available. If you open it to anybody, Savak will apply for the job. Like he'll take it. But I mean, he's good looking and all. I love his hair, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But if you get a guy to come,
and that's the problem with a guy like Savak. He's gonna have his boys with him, and we'd run that thing like Tootsie.
Like yeah, exactly, like we would. So that's when when a 15, 20-year or when a hot candidate comes up and they say, all right, I'll come in, but I need this, this, and this, and then ownership or whoever's making the decisions, because we can't figure that out right now, says no, I'm not going to allow that. Then you're either not going to get those people, or you're going to get people that come in like Nick Saban, who he's one of the best coaches ever, but he wasn't successful because, again, it's everything around him that didn't make him successful.
Well, I think a lot of times, real quick, Big Seth, is a lot of times young coaches, new head coaches, their biggest problem, in my opinion, and Perk will probably agree with me on this one, is that it's hard to put a staff together. You know what I mean? The more you've been in the game, the more coaches you know that know more about you. If you're a first-time head man, a lot of times, how do you put a staff together? A lot of them are your buddies that were the grinding with you through different organizations and things like that. Older coaches that have been around, they have more street cred, and I think they've got more reach to guys that could put a staff together of coaches that know their stuff in and out and that want to coach with them. I'm sure coaches that get new jobs that reach out to guys and they're like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna stay where I'm at. I'm happy where I'm at. But you get some of these guys that are more established, they'll be able to bring in some guys that that know what they want and have been around them long enough. And I think that's why you look at if we move on from Mike McDaniel, you go to somebody that's been in the league, 10 plus years for sure.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see who they decide with their general manager. And no matter what is being said externally, you can't tell me that in those conversations, they're not saying, what do you think about the existing personnel, including the head coach? Like, they're going to ask that question. And, would you be willing to work with him? What have you? So I have to imagine that question will be asked, and they just would be foolish to not be involved in the Harbaugh conversation. I don't know what that's going to be like. That guy's going to have his pick of the litter. They're talking, what was reported today, every team that doesn't have a head coach is currently interested, and 3 teams with head coaches have also expressed interest. So, and then Josina Anderson reported that the Dolphins did inquire. So, we shall see what happens there. All right, let's try to do something a little, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but because I'm unprepared with, and I tried to tell y'all, Juice, do you have an I tried to tell y'all?
I do.
Okay, well, why don't you kick us off with an I tried to tell y'all. In the meantime, get your legal questions ready for the Chad Van Horn Legal Zone. We're going to run it parallel to the I tried to tell y'all. So let's kick it off with OJ McDuffie. What did you try to tell us this year, man?
You know what, man? I tried to tell y'all there was one receiver on this team that reminded me of myself. And no, before you go there, Big Seth, it's not a first rounder. Definitely not a first rounder. Instead, it's a 6th rounder. And his name is Malik Washington. So there's so many comparisons here. First, he was brought in to initially return punts and kickoffs. And in his first 2 years, he returned a punt for a touchdown, while I returned 2. In his first 2 seasons, he was behind 2 established receivers, Jalen Waldo and Tyreek Hill. I was behind Urban Fryer and Mark Ingram. In his first 2 years, he was tasked with a lot of blocking. I still remember trying to block Mo Lewis on a crackback block. I kind of remember that. I don't remember.
Might be why you forget a lot of things.
Right. But also in his first 2 years, we didn't hear a peep or a complaint from him. No. Wait a minute. I don't know how that comparison got in there, because that's definitely not me. So we're going to scratch that one. But we're moving on. So in his first 2 years, Malik had 72 grabs. I only had 56, but we both had 3 touchdowns. I had 685 yards total. He had 540. But both of us saw more offensive snaps towards the end of our second season. For him, it was after Tyreek got hurt and Tua started trusting him more. For me, it was because, one of our receivers got in the doghouse. Marino started trusting me more. But what I'm really trying to tell you is that what I expect from Malik in year 3, I had 62 grabs in year 3, 819 yards, 8 touchdowns, 50 of those going, for first downs or better. So I expect even more from Malik next season. I mean, they do have an extra game, right? And that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, you had a better quarterback. You had a better quarterback, but anyway.
Well, we don't know who's going to throw. Well, nobody's going to be better than Danny that they have next
Nobody.
year. So great point. Great point. I like that. That's really good stuff. Travis Wingfield's smiling somewhere because he tried to make that comparison when we drafted him. So I'm glad that Malik finally earned that from himself.
He's still earning it, Big Seth.
Awesome stuff. So Chris Perkins, we're going to allow you to double up here. Why don't you lead us off with a Chad Van Horn Legal Zone question, and then go into your I tried to tell y'all if you haven't I tried to tell y'all.
All right, I'm going to lead off with the Chad Van Horn. Chad, if you are a season ticket holder for a team, could you sue the team for part of your season ticket value, not the entire value? We don't want to get greedy, but because they broke the breach of contract, right? They said they were going to do everything they could to win, and now it appears they're going into a tank. Could you sue them for part of your season ticket value? Do I let Chad answer this, or do I go to my I try to tell y'all, Seth?
No, I'll answer. Yeah, I'll answer very quickly.
Right,
you you sign so many waivers whenever you're purchasing tickets from the NFL. Like the NFL, like think of the Mafia back in the day. They're like 100 times more powerful than the Mafia. So you can sue them, yes, but you will lose quickly. And they might take your condo. Like they might just take over, and you might have like Roger Goodell might be sleeping in your guest bedroom. So I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't take your case on, but I certainly feel your pain, and I wish you nothing but the best because I just appreciate you as a person.
Well, you know, Chad, he hasn't paid for a season ticket his whole life down here. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He's talking about the other people. He's got his credentials, man. He walks in scot-free all the time, man.
He's got an unobstructed view in the front row of the press box and unlimited food and drink the entire time.
So am I not part of the media at this? Am I not part of the media at this point? Like I put up with enough suffering as a Dolph fan. Like I deserve something. Can I get some credentials?
Yeah, I don't know if we've earned that yet. I don't think
Perkins just asking for his neighbors, Chad. He's just asking for his neighbors that that he can roll in there with him.
That's right.
He's trying to piggyback off somebody's Wi-Fi, man. You know what I mean? See if they can run a hard wire through the ceiling so he can hardwire in and shit.
Perk, when you get to the Dolphins, do you use the Ethernet cord that's underneath the desk there, or do you just use the Wi-Fi? No,
I just use the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Wait, hold on, Seth, real quick.
No, I'm 30 seconds behind everybody, but I use the Wi-Fi.
Perk, I think he's still using the stadium's Wi-Fi where he lives right now.
Where he lives.
The Miami Cardinals. It is really good Wi-Fi in the stadium. It's really good Wi-Fi in the stadium. All right, Chris Perkins, what did you know what he does? Tell us?
Wait, hold on a second, Seth. I'm not done with Perk yet.
Oh, man.
He's been dropping extenders off all the way home. He's dropping an extender off at 7-Eleven, one at the Mobile. He's trying to extend this all the way to this.
You're right, Juice. And it's not working right now. It's not working. All right, look. Hey, look. I tried to tell y'all it takes a village to raise a successful team. And I alluded to this earlier with all the defense that we're seeing successful in college football and NFL. We see that Ohio State had a good defense in college football. It got them a long way, not to where they wanted to go, but it got them a long way. The University of Miami, Indiana University, defense is winning in college football. We go to the NFL, New England, the LA Chargers, Houston, Chicago. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I know that everything is about quarterback, and offense. I know that sells on ESPN, that sells for me when I'm writing. People don't want to hear about the defense. They want to hear about Tua. They want to hear about Quinn Ewers, fantasy football, gambling. But I'm telling you, there's more than one way to win in today's football game, both college and NFL, and we're seeing it right now. If you build a complete team, Miami Dolphins, you can have a better chance of success.
There it is. He tried to tell us, and he did. We'll see. Well, maybe we'll see if we get the opportunity to see it. All right. Do we have another question for Chad Van Horn? Pert?
Yeah, I got a question for Chad.
And Juice has one.
Oh, jeez. Nah.
Chad, if I'm late paying my rent this week, am I going to get evicted?
Overnight.
But I took the trash out and everything.
Hey, bitch better have my money.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite songs, and luckily in all my rental units, it honestly plays the first of every month and every year, just randomly on their speakers.
Is it like the ice cream man when he comes down the street? That comes out of your car.
He's like, yeah, Chad's like Big Perm coming down the street, man. It's like Big Perm. Like, where's my money at, Smokey?
That's it. There's certain ways that you run an organization. Right. And there's certain expectations that we have with my organization that the Dolphins might not have those expectations, but I have those expectations.
That's right. Bitch better have my money. That's it.
Right. Well, I don't have a fully prepared. I tried to tell y'all, but I've been trying to tell y'all this. You can't blame everything on Chris Grier. The Chris Grier damage is done, and maybe the Dolphins will still be paying for it years forward in some ways. But Chris Grier did not cause the Dolphins to be the worst third quarter team in football this season. It wasn't Chris Grier in the locker room making or not making adjustments and being outperformed by the coaching staff and players in the opposing locker room. Chris Grier was not the reason why this team, 5 of their 10 losses, were by 22 points or more this year, highlighted by the 28-point defeat at the end of the season by the Patriots. You can't blame that on Chris Grier, in my opinion. Okay? Chris Grier is not the reason why guys were skipping meetings and late for meetings, and why a head coach after a season a year ago had to answer questions about, well, finding them doesn't work. I'll have to figure out another way. So there are other reasons why the Miami Dolphins have disappointed their fan base again. There are other reasons why the Miami Dolphins are in the conversations that they're in, and they cannot all be attributed to Chris Grier. I don't understand why Mike McDaniel somehow gets a hall pass for these things, and that's what I tried to tell y'all.
I like that. That's a great one, Big Seth, for sure, man.
Beautiful, Seth. Beautiful.
We beat up on
Beautiful.
You know, we beat up on Chris, and Chris was beating up on Chris. But you know, you're right, man. Some of that stuff. I mean, like, I haven't seen Chris at any halftime down the locker room at all.
Not one.
I don't see him on that phone they call from upstairs down to the sideline either, right? He's not in the headset. He's not on the walkie-talkie. Yep. So yeah, I'm with you, man. It's a good point. Yep. Great point, Big Seth.
We're trying to get a minority coach fired. That's fine. Whatever.
Chad, please don't go there again. All right.
Mike McDaniel's a minority coach.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
I do have a question for you, though. The only thing that rivals a Chris Perkins, Chad Van Horn legal zone question is a Sam Marcoux Chad Van Horn legal zone question.
Oh, Jesus.
The restaurant says you get a free kids meal when the adult orders a meal, but then says you won't honor it because cheese sticks aren't an adult meal. Can he sue for damages?
So first off, where is Sam located? Just so I want to get that on the record, because I want to build a record.
California.
Yeah. So he can go to hell, and he can pay $20 for his cheese sticks.
Damn.
Wow. The late night Chad Van Horn is a different Chad Van Horn.
Yeah, we got to go back to the 7. We got to go back to the 7 p.m. one.
I love it.
Like I'm just saying, like you chose your destiny. Like, now live with it. Now if you want cheaper cheese sticks, move to Davie. But guess what? You don't live in Davie anymore. You live in California. So your cheese sticks are gonna be taxed. So deal with it.
So cheese sticks, not an adult meal in the eyes of the law.
No, cheese sticks are an adult meal. I love cheese sticks. But when you're in California, pay $20 for your cheese sticks.
Gotcha.
No,
I think it goes back to your favorite song.
So we can't order.
Hey, they need to start using that government cheese for the cheese steak.
You're telling me you can't order 2 kids meals to equal 1 adult meal and pay that price? I mean, sometimes the math is pretty good that way.
Look, I
borrow a kid. Why don't you just grab a kid, from the table next to you?
What are we doing?
Let me know how.
Wait, hold on. No, you guys will like this real quick. So I just took my baby moon with my wife. No, I took my baby moon with my wife up to Palm Beach, and we stayed at this resort. And she really wanted things off the kids menu. And the waitress was like, "Well, you're not a kid," and she's like, "But I have a kid." She's like, "Oh, good point." And boom, she got the kids menu, kids price. It was easy.
So in Northern California.
No, if he's pregnant, maybe. Like, because it's California, so like things happen, whatever.
Damn.
Like that could be a thing. And I wish Sam and his newborn child nothing but a happy cheese stick birth.
Well, on that note, OJ McDuffie. Well, let's say this: we're now that we're in the off season, we're waiting to see what the Miami Dolphins are going to do. We are also in our own conversations that Troy Aikman and Mike McDaniel and everyone else are a part of as to what the rest of the off season will look like with Fish Tank Live. So we'll have that information out to everybody soon. So grateful for everybody who's participated. It's been a full house tonight, which has been great. Man, look at Sam's
Well, I think,
response.
Big Seth, the next couple of days, man. The next couple of days is going to be very interesting for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
And, Perk, keep us posted, Perk.
We might have to have an emergency
going on through the weekend, early next week, man, for sure.
Maybe an emergency live. Get us the hell out of here, man.
Hey, you silly folks. No, thanks for dying.